is Francisca. I was born and raised in Santiago, so the capital of Chile. I lived there up until I was 19, and I moved to study to Europe for a few years, but I'm still living in Chile. My undergraduate in tourism, so tourism is really a passion of mine. It's really what I love, and traveling. And now I'm just finishing my master's in international business and writing this awesome book.
Why did you choose to write your book?
First, it was a really cool opportunity. I always envisioned myself being an author, and the fact that I could do that plus write about my country and tourism and just encourage people to visit, it was just a perfect project. Be aware is that you need to have at least a basic knowledge of Spanish, because in South America in general, very few people speak English, maybe young people a bit more, but not even that. So it's super important to have a basic knowledge of Spanish. Just the numbers, even that would be like good enough. And yeah, in this section of the book, there's a few don'ts just to be aware of, like, I don't know, taxes.
Low key, like more family oriented celebrations.
Right, that's a good question. So if you ask any Chilean about festivities, the number one thing that we celebrate is Las Patrias, or 18 de septiembre, which is like the 18th of September. So a lot of people think that this is like our Independence Day, but huge parks where we have traditional food, dance, games. So it's the most Chilean thing you can do is go to Chile around these times, like in September. Because the energy, the vibe.
What's the difference between the Chilean dialect in Spanish and the other Latin American dialects?
Mm-hmm. Well, so just like most of South American countries, we were colonized by Spaniards, so we all speak Spanish, let's say the same Spanish, but of course we have different dialects in every country and different slangs. Naturally, I can understand everybody in South America, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still Spanish. But in Chile, in particular, a lot of people, and even South American people, have a hard time understanding us. Be aware of some words, which you can also see in the book.
One or two cultural dishes from Chile that would be different from any other country that you'd recommend to travelers?
Well, I would say empanadas, but I know empanada is this like filled pastry with like meat. But I know they also have empanadas in Argentina and some other South American countries. But I guess the most Chilean thing you can eat, it will be anything seafood. So we have, for example, pures, which is a very weird seafood. It's like sort of like a jello texture, very red. It looks very suspicious, but it's awesome. I started eating this when I was like 3 years old, and it's super nutritious. If you have a hangover, it's such a good pick me up. So it's a really cool thing. And as far as I know, we only have it in Chile. So it's definitely something you have to try. Anything seafood, it will be awesome, really. So I think this is more of like a Mexican meal.
Fair enough. So Chile's not from Chile. That's cool. Okay. So what are any hikes or walks I recommend to the tourists?
A lot of Chile is part of like national parks. We have a lot of, I think around 20%, 20 or 30% of Chilean territory is like a national park or a natural reserve, which is protected by CONAF, which is some sort of organization that protects our parks, right? Like not all of our natural resources. So yeah, for me, my favorite places to do any hike or trekking or anything outdoorsy is definitely the south of Chile. So anywhere in the Patagonia, it will be just a dream. Truly, it's wonderful. In the north, the weather, it's a little bit hot. You know, we have the desert. During summer, also the height it's very complicated for a lot of tourists. You know, in the north, we have beautiful places that are above 3,500 meters above sea level. So you need to really be prepared. We also have this like coca leaves that you have to chew on when you're on such big height. But that is mainly an issue of the north of Chile. So for me, my favorite hikes are definitely in the south. In Santiago, you can also find really cool places nearby. So yeah.
Awesome. And
or if anybody's interested in like natural resources, you will find it in the book.
awesome. Are there any rules that people should know before going to Chile? Like being sort of like politeness or things that people should know not to offend locals or to be more polite to locals?
That's a good question. So overall, Latin culture is quite homogeneous around, if you're talking with older people, it's always important to be polite. There's even a word in Spanish that we make a distinction between, like paying your respects or not. In English, you just say you, right? But in Spanish, we have two versions of you. It's either tú or usted. And if you're referring to somebody older or that you have to show respect, it would be very disrespectful to say tú, right? In that case, it would be usted.
Nice way of, or a polite.
Right, polite, very, very polite. So if you talk with somebody older and you say tú, they will feel very disrespected and probably won't talk to you.
Country and the least favorite part of your country.
Good question. So, of course, I'm biased because I'm Chilean and I think every part in Chile is beautiful and worth visit. But this is not a hard question. For me, my favorite part is anywhere in the south of Chile. It's really a wonderland for me, just because of the natural resources. People are super hospitable. Food is awesome. It's just 100% guarantee that you will have a great time if you go to the south of Chile. And it's also very safe. Chile is one of the safest countries in South America, and the south of Chile even more.
Transportation means.
Yeah, so mainly the car would be the best way to go around. If you're a tourist, I would recommend taking an airplane because from north to south, we have around 4,600 kilometers. So it's a really long country. To get from one side to another, it would take hours in the car. And a lot of tourists are a little bit not used to that. For us, driving 10 hours is not that big of a deal, but for tourists, of course, it's different. But the biggest mean of transportation, I would say airplanes for tourists and also buses. Buses are super comfy. It's almost like a bed where you can sit in and, especially for these long trips, very comfortable. And the car, it's a good idea. It's always a good idea. But buses, like public transportation in big cities, and the metro, like the subway, it's a little bit unreliable. So yeah, if you're in a big city, definitely car. If you're moving around Chile, airplane or buses.
To know about you that is not very well known, that barely anyone knows. And
hard question. I don't know. I guess well, I guess not so many people know that I'm very passionate about traveling. I'm very passionate about like bringing cultures together. I've traveled a lot in the past 10 years, and it's always interesting to come across with like people from different culture, and the difference sometimes are so crazy, but I think at the end of the day we share so many similarities. There's so much to bring us that brings us together rather than separates us. So yeah, I'm very passionate about tourism. I know it had to be something about myself, but this is something that maybe a lot of people don't know about me.
series and kind of what our mission is around that series.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, well, when I first got into this project, what really drove me into working with Easy Mark Publishing was the fact that they wanted to empower women, right? Sort of close the gap of gender inequality and it gives such a huge opportunity to young writers, women from all over the world. The mission it's really fulfilling. And yeah, I want the world to know that this is a beautiful project that has people together working to empower each other and also to spread the word on our countries.
Okay. All right. Well, have a great day.
Thank
And
you, you too.
yeah, this is a great
Thank you for
interview.
your time.
All
Bye,
right.
Mark.
Bye.